one company that's definitely operating in a fast-paced environment is Electronic Arts. Are there any gamers here in the audience? Cal, put your hand up. Anyone that admits that they're a gamer? So even if you don't play video games, you've probably heard of EA. Their industry has come an awful long way since the days of Asteroids, Donkey Kong, and Pong. So let's take a quick look.
Exciting.
So you gotta fire up, you gotta let go. You never be left till you make your own. You gotta face up, you gotta get yours. You never know the top till you get too low. Well, son of a, slip smarter. Well, son of a, I'm so sorry. Well, son of a, slip smarter. Well, son of a, I'm so sorry.
All right, that's definitely fast-paced. So EA was founded in 1982, and they now have over 300 million registered players. They have over 10,000 employees and generate over $5 billion in annual revenue. With operations in 27 countries and locations ranging from Sydney to Shanghai and Seattle to Seoul, you can see how communication, collaboration, and alignment are critical. Let's take a quick look at Slack at EA. There are a number of things that really stand out. First is high adoption. They have over 10,000 employees and 13,000 daily active users. So all of their employees are on Slack, and they've extended their network to include important partners and contractors. And they're highly engaged. They're sharing almost 400,000 messages and over 9,000 files every day. Beyond that, the user sentiment is really positive. Check out this feedback. Slack is awesome. It enables company-wide communication and the ability to spin up open channels around focused topics. Far better than email. Or some more direct feedback. You're amazing dudes. Thank you, EA. All right, we're also seeing the platform use at Electronic Arts. They're using EA across the business, and we spoke earlier about the proliferation of business applications. You can see this here. EA has integrated over 550 different apps into their platform, or into their workflow, and they're able to bring together all of their functions to seamlessly work together. The power of the platform enables EA to bring together all of their people, all of their information, and all of their apps to get work done. So the launch of FIFA 19 is a really powerful example of Slack in action at EA. So FIFA, if you're not familiar with it, is there's the soccer or football game if you're here from the UK, and it's a very definition of a blockbuster video game. They've sold over 260 million copies in franchise history, and that makes it the best-selling sports video game of all time. And it takes a village to bring this game to market. And Slack, as EA's collaboration hub, is that virtual village. Here's a visualization of how this looks in practice. So the graph here represents communication in Slack. Each dot represents a person, and the lines connecting them represent communication. The location of the dots show how closely groups of people work together. The yellow dots represent the FIFA studio team. They designed the game. And the graph shows the actual communication required to get FIFA to launch. The FIFA studio team doesn't work alone. They work closely with 162 people in their game engine team, and these are the engineers that build the core game engine. As the game gets close to launching, the teams that help bring the game to market get looped in, like publishing, analytics, and player development. And after launch, the studio works with the tech ops team to bring the game forward, to scale it to millions of users, and to support their online services. Once the players are online, the player experience team provides 24/7 global support. This, in total, is the virtual village. And by the end, it includes over 600 people across 78 teams in 32 offices, with sharing over 116,000 messages, and this is just in a 28-day period. So you can see, with everyone working together and moving in the same direction to build, ship, and support a blockbuster game. So to hear more about this amazing story, I'm delighted to welcome Gopi Parampalli, who is the VP of IT at Electronic Arts. Hey, Gopi, good to see you again. All right. Thank you for being with us here today.
Thank you for having me here.
So exciting video. We've spoken a lot here at Frontiers about kind of the pace of change and enabling everyone to do the best work. I know that you've gone through a lot of change recently. Talk to us a little bit about some of the change and how EA is navigating that change.
So there is a lot changing in terms of technology, games, the devices, and the players. But today, for today's discussion, I want to focus and anchor on talent.
Yeah.
So if you take a step back and walk into any of our studios, what you will see is a craftsmanship from different kinds of, I call them electronic artists. They could be artists, engineers, people who support operations, publishing, digital platform, all of these guys. So what they're passionate about is just creating those expansive, worlds and creating those immersive experiences. Now, the mix of that talent is changing. As you pointed out earlier, there are a lot more 24-year-olds now in the workforce than before. Their expectation is not just around messaging, but just in general, everything around a technology has to offer has to be simple, easy to use. So that's one thing, that's a big change that we're seeing. The second thing that we're seeing is collaboration is not one of those, hey, it's nice to haves anymore, right? So if you take a step back and look at 27 countries and 55 sites where we operate, and how it takes all these people to come together just for one game. I mean, repeat this game after game, title after title. So you are talking about really distributed operating model. So for that to happen, you got to have easy to use tools, and you got to make sure that you can attract talent. It's basically employee experience for us, and collaboration for us is a brand defining asset for us. So that's a big change that I see in the talent space.
So maybe let's go a little bit further on that one, because EA has been around since 1982, I imagine, and there's messaging services in a lot of the games you build, and a lot of different tools you've probably used across the course of time.
Yep.
How did you land on why a collaboration tool, which I think you answered, but why Slack?
Yeah, so a couple of things that have changed. So if you go back to a couple of years back, just go in time traveling machine and just go back a few years. Most of this development was happening in a single location. So it was not as distributed as it is today. That's number one. What distribution allows us to do is, for example, create the hubs of excellence in different locations. For example, for artwork, we have created some hubs of excellence. For localization, we have created other hubs of excellence. For engineering work, we have created other hubs of excellence. So you can't do that if you are trying to hire everybody in a single location. That's the reason why we had to move to this. And that's also easy to scale. But the scale and distribution also brings you a bunch of challenges. So that's one part of this, why it's important for us. The other part of this is how kind of Slack came into the picture and how that became our collaboration hub. It's a very interesting story. If you go back to 2014 and before that, we used to have one of those big platform vendors, packaged up everything, including messaging as part of the platform play. And then what ended up happening was, it was not being used because, not all the teams basically found it fit for their purpose. So we started looking at, okay, if our users are not adopting it, then what could be the reason and what are the other alternatives? But by 2014, what we started finding out is a lot of teams have already started using, Slack. And we didn't have to do a sales job to kind of go and say, okay, let's basically bring Slack in.
So adoption matters.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, adoption is the only thing that matters, because whether for a product company to make products, it's our IT, our technology teams to roll out technology. It really no longer matters whether you delivered it on time, on budget. What matters is the adoption more than
Great points. So as you've gone through your journey and you've been using Slack for a little bit of time now, what were some of the bigger surprises that you encountered along the path?
So we were talking about this morning. So the first one is how easy it is to use. Just in general, if you really look at the revolution that started a couple of years ago with bring your own devices and bring your own technology and bring your own apps. If you were to go back to that, which started in more of a consumer space, right? Then over a period of time, the company started bringing this into enterprise. And the best elements of the consumer world, the ease of use specifically, and bringing it to the enterprise with all the things that an enterprise needs around security and administration and all of those things. I think I was super surprised to find that in Slack, because initially I walked into this thinking, hey, it's a great persistent chat solution. Let's basically use it. But that's number one. Yeah. The number two is more of a platform aspects of this, because as you called out, as you see in the deck, there are a whole bunch of apps that we use that we integrate to. If you take a step back and look at Slack as where work happens, you need to be able to integrate into these apps much more easily. And I think that's basically what I was super surprised in the beginning. But now we fully leverage it, actually.
Cool. That's great. So now, as you start to look forward, you've done a lot of amazing things, and as you start to kind of think about how this evolves and grows over time, what are some of the things that are on the horizon for both EA's evolution, but also how you're driving employee experience in Slack at EA?
Yep. So at EA, I think let me reflect on just where we've been and where we started for a second, and then I'll answer that question. So when we started the whole the employee experience, and specifically the Slack adoption part of it, we started off with bringing everybody into a single place, because as an organization, if you're not in a single place, you create a lot of silos. People won't be able to talk to each other, and then once that happens, the bigger things, the cultural elements like getting aligned and understanding the big picture in the same way that everybody else does, to all the way to a very tactical thing of, hey, I want to solve this problem, but I can't talk to the other person because they're not in the same place. So, that whole range, I think we were able to solve it pretty fast. And when I talk to my peers in the industry, not everybody is in the same place. So once we got there, then the next step is about, okay, how do you make sure that this becomes the hub where the work happens? Then we started exploring this idea of, let's take a step back and look at, what are some of the quick wins that are out there. Like, for example, if I want to log, IT, if I need to ask for IT help, then why do I need to basically go out into a separate app and then basically be able to do it? Why can't I do that in, Slack itself? Or moving on to a bunch of other use cases like, okay, can you not, create the notifications on all the outages and the service incidents, things like that in the Slack? Or even moving on to, if a player wants some support and some consultation from the player experience team, then why can't you do that using Slack basically to give you that platform? So we started looking at this low-hanging fruits. We are in the middle of kind of developing out those integrations. Now the next step for us is take a step back and look at the day in the life of a programmer, day in the life of a developer, day in the life of a player experience advisor, day in the life of artists. So basically that's where we want to go, because to us, employee experience is all about creating the friction-free experience and offer a signature experience for people to work together and do best work of their lives.
That's great. Super aligned with the keynote this morning. So I know there's a lot of folks here that are at different parts of their journey with Slack. You mentioned that you were able to drive it out and get adoption on a common platform pretty quickly. What words of wisdom might you have for the audience as they kind of embark on their journey with Slack?
Words of wisdom is probably too strong. I'll tell you what my pains were and how, with the help of Slack and other peers, we were able to overcome them. So if you don't have people on a single platform, I would say start your journey there. Identify some of the use cases and basically start there. And don't think of this as, if you're a technologist, my advice is don't think of this as a technology. Think of this as a capability that's going to be very powerful in the hands of your end users and your workforce and your partners. And then think of this as a marketing campaign. Think of this as an adoption drive. Okay, so don't look at this as a technology play. So that's where I would start, and then follow your customers, follow your employees, follow your partners, follow your users in their daily life. Understand what are some of the pain points that they have, what are some of the frictions that they have, in getting their work done, and then then it becomes very evident, how to basically solve those problems.
Good words of advice. Now, I could ask you, we could go on for a really long time, but I want to maybe wrap it there unless there's any other closing comments you'd like to share.
No, I think, look, this has been an incredible journey for us, partnership with Slack. My execs and I and my team members, there are quite a number of them from Electronic Arts who are very excited, to be part of this event and this continued partnership. We love our partnership with Slack and the kind of ease of use that this puts into our workers.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, Gopi, we're on behalf of the extended team, we're super grateful for the partnership as well. I want to congratulate you on all your success, and thanks so much for being a part of Frontiers. We appreciate it. Thank you so much.